Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the best car in the world. And if you don't already know who this is Melvin, my 1991 Rover Metro, who I've now owned for exactly 6 years, pretty much. And this was my first car back in 2017. And he's been driven and loved, and now he's looking a little bit worse for wear. If you haven't already seen it, I did make a little video about this car's life about 6 or 7 months ago or so. And I love this thing, but unfortunately when I bought it, I didn't know enough about cars to be able to check the kind of structural integrity of this little thing, because while mechanically this car is perfect and it still works fantastically, the bodywork is what's keeping it from being used. I realised last summer that it wasn't going to pass an MOT with just the rear end of the body shell looking like it is, so he's had to come off the road, and now he's going to be totally stripped down and restored, and he's going to get a few choice modifications as well. But in this video, we're not going to strip down the car in its entirety. All we're going to do is we're going to check the most common Metro rust areas to see just how bad the shell is, and how difficult it is therefore for me to pay for this car's restoration, because restoring cars costs money, if you hadn't noticed. So I know the rear end is shot totally, but the question is more, how bad is the front end of this car? So we're going to start by doing a few things. We're going to take out the entire interior later on, the carpets and stuff like that, because the three big rust areas I want to look for are the rear wheel arches, inside and out. So you can see them on the outside. The car's falling apart at the rear wheel arch on this side, but I want to look at it from the inside and see exactly how bad it is. I think very is the answer. And then I want to get the carpets up so I can see how bad the floors are, because that's another big Metro rust area. And finally, which is actually what we're going to start out with, because I'm weird, we're going to start with the front wings, because up here in this kind of area, these cars absolutely love to rot. You can't see them rot, and by the time they have, it's either too late to do if you're on a budget, or is going to cost me an awful lot more money than I think. So yeah, let's get working. The potential rust is all on the inner wings, so in order to take the outer wings off to be able to see what we're doing, we need to first take the wheel arch liners out, which means taking the wheels off, and also take the front bumper off, because complicated for no reason. But if I can get up, these are the coolest wheel trims in the world. I love base model looking cars, and they're phenomenal. The handbrake would be a good start. Rise, my diminutive friend. Oh, Metro GTA steel wheels, which are an inch wider than normal Metro wheels, and they've got sticky Yokohamas on them. These are the best things in the world, and they will be going back on the car in many years. Look at the state of these brake discs. They're actually not very worn at all. They only went on last year, but you can tell they've been sat outside for a few months. Anyway. Oh, it's so oily in there. Plastic screws for the win. That is the little one that covers the crank pulley on the engine, which is not the right type actually. That is for a car, some kind of MG Rover product that has air conditioning, because it's got a secondary belt run on it, should I say. So because it's a Metro, it only needs one for the alternator, but this has two, so I'm also going to guess there are no timing marks on it. So yeah, this is the wrong crank pulley. Hey, arch liner with only mild bendage of these tabs on the wings. Or this wing, should I say. Got to do the other side, yeah. Oh, that's good news. Up there, which is where we want to look to see whether it's rotten, from here, it looks absolutely fine. There is a bit up here right at the top of the main wheel arch, which is annoying and will cost to repair, but it's not up here at the bottom of the pillar. At least, not that I can see or feel, so that's good news. See, the thing is that in these wheel arch liners, most of the clips, or screws should I say, are plastic, and that's fine, but the ones that hold the wheel arch, the mud flaps in, are metal, and they've rotten, but they only go into little plastic inserts which sit in a bracket on the back of the wing itself. So with enough force, you can just pull the plastic insert out, and then it brings the mud flap along with the arch liner out. So hey! I have bent the brackets on the wing a little bit, but you know, they'll go back into place. And there you go, 2 wheel arch liners for a Metro, both complete with mud flaps, this one of which I've slightly broken. And again, I can't see too much rust up there, so again, this is possibly good news. Hopefully, the vast majority of the really bad rot on this car will be in the rear half of it. So now, with that done, let's get the bumper off. Who'd have thought that bloody wheel arch liners would be so difficult to remove? What a silly design. Oh, Christ! That can go on the wall. A 10. That's quite unusual for a Metro. They weren't tight at all. Are there more bolts? Of course there are, naturally. Behold the faceless car. So, with the car's face off, now all we need to do is remove these wings, and then we can see for sure just how rusty it really is. So I'm going to start with this row of bolts along the top. I have a sneaking suspicion that these wings have been off this car before, because the way the cars are assembled in the factory is the wings are put on the car and then it's painted. So this seam here should have, I believe it should also have some seam sealer in here, and then it's painted on top, but on both sides it's just come off instantly. So I mean, it's clearly not painted under here, that's all bare. But I think someone's had these wings off before, which is interesting. Little mini side repeaters. Hope we've not missed any. Hey! Behold now the wingless car. Hey! Oh. Rust-related sit rep. You can see why they rot around here, because that's a seam. Water can come in from down here. It's seam sealed down here from factory, I believe, but it's not very well protected. And yes, it does have the arch liners, but that is really solid, and I'm happy. Yes, there's a little bit of surface corrosion and stuff around the edges, but that does not need some serious work. I mean, down there needs some serious work, because that, oh yeah. But anyway, this side is good. And on this side, I'm happy to report there's more of the same. Again, some surface corrosion, but that seam is fine. This seam is a little less good. However, I'm intrigued by all this kind of, you know, seam sealer sound deadening stuff, because, let me just check. Oh no, there is all that stuff around the other side as well, but it's not as thick on the other side. And it got in the way of that bolt as well, because the seam sealed over it. But yeah, that's not too bad. Again, but it's not got massive holes in it, so there is somewhere to work off. We know how it should go together. So yeah, it doesn't have a big hole up here. That's what I'm happy about. So, yay, full marks. Well, nearly. So now we're at the end of the car that actually matters and the reason this thing's being restored. I've touched on it already, but I mean, I'll show you in a minute, but I'm pulling bits of bodywork off with my fingers. That's how rotten the rear end of this car is, because the rear arches were bodged. Anyway, we'll get into it in a minute. This rear bumper was only fitted to Metro 1.1Cs in like 1991. It was fitted to cars for 12 months, so this is kind of what makes Melvin Melvin, being a 1.1C, as well as the little hubcaps. They were only fitted for like 12 months or so as well, so this is a very rare spec car, and it needs to be protected. And although it won't be totally standard when it's done, it will retain things like this bumper. So to get a bit of a clearer view of the rear wheel arches and exactly how bad it is, first thing to do is to take off this bumper. So this is how bad it is. I mean, first of all, we've got all this rubbish around here, but that is, I mean, an entire section of the wheel arch there has come away, leaving this, which is appalling. And the reason this has happened is because someone previously, not me, previous owner, had it bodged to hell. So underneath these new outer arches are the original outer arches. Because clearly they couldn't be bothered cutting away the metal properly, they just decided to weld on new arches over the top of it. So that is how bad that is. And if we come round to the back, this is all kind of okay, but down the bottom, don't know quite where it is, but there is a hole in that rear valance, and the inner valance behind it is like cheese, essentially. So the inner valance needs changing. Fortunately, I have a new inner valance. I also have a new outer valance now as well. So they both need changing. Needs new arches put on either side. This arch is nowhere near as bad, but it still needs doing. So that is just how bad this car really is. And that, unfortunately, is that. Again, amazingly, I actually have a repair panel for this. Well, not a repair panel, a cut from a good car that was crashed. So it was crashed at the front, this is fine, so this has been cut out to go into my car. This seatbelt anchorage was repaired as an emergency MOT measure. Well, not last year, the year before now. And I knew the car would have to eventually come off the road because I knew it was totally knackered. But yeah, that is... yeah, so And the reason that does that, and this is the bad side by the way, this side, which I will show you in a minute, is okay. The reason it does this is because the fuel filler's on this side, and so for some reason, Austin Rover decided that because the fuel is going down there, down the side of this wheel arch to there, they decided to double skin this wheel arch. At least that's what I believe they did. They double skinned it, water gets up from the bottom in between them, and then that happens. So, yeah, knackered, totally rotten. That is Metro. So, yeah, class, absolute class. See? I told you one side was good. Then again, that hole's got bigger now. Oh, Ed, that's a really lovely Metro you've got. Oh, it looks so nice. Yeah, it is nice to drive. But yeah. This is a lesson about cars on the internet. Cars might photograph really well, so when you're looking at stuff on Instagram, they might look fantastic. You see the cars you see at the you see the cars you see on Instagram in real life at shows, and you realise they're actually a bit ratty. And in this case, rotten. This is the last time I'm going to sit in this car. In this form, anyway. It's just... Lots of people have driven Metros, but most of them have driven A-Series Metros, and the driving position of an A-Series Metro is not ideal, and it isn't ideal here either. But the steering wheel is kind of in the correct orientation, but it's on the passenger side, so it's better, but also worse. But on this one, the pedals are close together, so heel and toe down changes are perfection. And the pedal weights are perfect, and that gear change from the R65 gearbox is so good. So good. Though it's only a 4-speed in this car, but yeah. I love this little thing so much. Oh well, let's go take some seats out. And there's another one down. Well, I didn't put the handbrake on. Car's moving forwards. A-Series Metros don't have this bar, and I don't know why. Can't be for structural strength. Well, this one has the strength of the proverbial wet paper bag. So, where do we start? Do the seat belts. Christ. Where did that other one go? There it is. Oh. That I now understand. Also, this is different A-Series to K-Series Metro. I can't possibly think why. Hey. Oh, there you go. Oh, there's another screw. These door trims are my least favourite things in the world. I hate them even more than the BMW XM. And Portini. And this one's broken as well, because of course it is. I mean, look at the state of that. Craftsmanship. Absolute craftsmanship. this one is not broken. I think that's it. I think. Oh, look at the mould. Oh, I'm putting a mask on. I'm putting a mask on.
I'm sweating enough as it is. It's so muggy today, I do not need... Oh, that is grim. This car's a biohazard. It's going to be rotten under here, I just know it is. With this amount of mould... Oh! Surprisingly not. That's actually really good. Well, that's a surprise. That's a turn up for the books. As soon as I saw all the mould, I thought that's going to be foul. And that side's alright too. Hey! That can go in the bin. I'm not reusing that. Oh, I'm not so sure about this side. It's not bad, but I mean, it could be better.
Oh, I did not need that mask today. Anyway. Yeah. Well, this side of the car is alright. I'm pretty pleased with the way it's turned out. Here, when I was expecting it to be totally rotten because of the amount of mould and therefore presumably damp below it, I was just expecting it to be new floor time, frankly, but that's fine. That's perfect. There is sound deadening on the floor, so who knows what's beneath it, but, you know, it's as good as it can be. This front floor, though, it's damp, and I knew it was going to be damp because this door seal is no good. And there is a little bit of surface corrosion around the edge here. You won't be able to see it, but there's no real point showing you because it's just a tiny little bit of surface corrosion. But you'll notice as well on the passenger side, there's all this kind of rubber topped matting, and this is all foam. And I noticed that this side was leaking a few years ago, and I couldn't find a door seal that fitted properly. So I just took the foam out and I kept lifting the carpet to dry it out. It is a little bit damp under there, but it's not swimming, so it is what it is. This side I don't know, because that foam just holds water, so I'm kind of half expecting this side to be just as bad. Oh yeah, it is, it's soaking wet. Yeah, the foam is soaking wet and I'm expecting it to be rotten, and it isn't. That's remarkable. I am so chuffed that those floors are not rotten. I knew this side wouldn't be, just this corner, but I didn't know about these two rear front floors and about this side. Oh, look at the water. Hope you saw that. Again, there are little tiny bits of corrosion here and there, but generally I'm chuffed. So, yeah, a good little fact-finding mission, I think. So there you go. There is the lovely Melvin. No worse than I thought it would be, rust-wise, so that's a really, really good news. Just the stuff at the rear end. The front end is as good as I hoped it would be. Again, some of the floors were unknown, but judging by the state of this front floor, I didn't think it would be too much of a problem. So this car is horrendously rusty, but it's also absolutely savable. So I'm very happy with that. So on that note, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please do click like and subscribe to TwinCam as well. I'm forever indebted to my wonderful Patreon supporters as ever, so if you'd like to support me that way and support this lunacy, then please do follow the link in the description. And I'll have more videos, many more on Melvin as well. Well, as many as I can until I need to start paying some really big bills for it. Coming along soon.